Mara Hadley had always known she wasn't beautiful. Her mother reminded her often enough. "You're a plain girl, Mara," she would say while combing her sister Lila's golden hair, the brush scraping through silky strands as if playing a tune. "Some girls are born with light. Others, well, they learn to work hard." Mara learned to work hard. She was 18 when everything changed, though the beginning of that change was nothing more than a quiet conversation whispered behind a closed kitchen door. She was scrubbing a pot when she heard her father's tight, hushed voice. "We can't keep her, Sharon. She eats, she works, but she brings nothing. We could find someone to take her," her mother replied. "Someone who won't ask too many questions." Mara froze. For a moment she wondered if they were talking about a dog, or a piece of furniture, or something else unwanted in the house. But deep down, she already knew. By the time she went to bed that night, her stomach twisted and her heart tightened until she could barely breathe. Her parents didn't love her. Perhaps they never had. And she, plain, quiet, unwanted, was something to be traded, like a tool that had lost its shine. 2. The next morning, a man arrived in a spotless pickup truck. He was well dressed, polished shoes, expensive watch, thin lips that seemed permanently pressed together. He looked around the small farmhouse with the expression of someone forced to visit a lower world. His name was Paul Halifax. He ran a remote work ranch on the other side of the state, known for hiring girls who were willing to earn their keep. Rumors said he paid well, if you were pretty. And if you weren't. Well, Mara didn't know. But she was about to find out. Her parents called her downstairs and stood straight, as though presenting something for sale at an auction. "This is our daughter," her mother said with a faint smile. "She's strong, obedient, not much to look at, but she works hard." Mara swallowed the sting of the words. Paul Halifax inspected her like a buyer examining livestock. He grunted. "Not pretty, no. Not like the other one." He gestured toward Lila, who hovered in the hallway, smirking with satisfaction. "But she looks like she'll follow orders," Paul said. Her father nodded eagerly. "She will." Paul turned to Mara with a chilling half-smile. "You'll do." Her parents didn't even look at her when they signed the papers. They took the money, an amount Mara never learned, and handed her over without a hug, a tear, or even a goodbye. She rode away in Paul Halifax's truck, staring at the shrinking outline of the only home she had ever known. Plain, unwanted, sold. 3. The Halifax ranch was nothing like the warm, sunlit pictures Mara had once imagined when she heard the word ranch. There were no playful horses running freely, no friendly cowboys tipping their hats. Instead, it was a sprawling, soulless property where every building was built with sharp corners and cold metal. The workers, mostly young women, not much older than Mara, kept their eyes low. They spoke little. They hurried everywhere. Paul Halifax ran the ranch with militaristic cruelty. You obeyed. You worked. You kept quiet. If you complained, you were sent away in the middle of the night, and no one ever spoke of you again. Mara learned quickly. She cleaned barns, carried feed, washed clothes, and served meals. She kept her hair tied back. She didn't speak unless spoken to. She made herself small, unnoticed. "Plain girl like you should be grateful," Paul would say whenever she paused for breath. "If I hadn't taken you, who would want you?" The words carved themselves into her. Plain. Worthless. Lucky to be taken. But Mara survived by clinging to one small truth. She still had her dignity, even if she hid it deep inside. 4. Life would have continued like that, quiet, gray, numb, if not for the day a stranger rode onto the property. It was nearly sunset when the sound of hooves echoed across the dry ground. Everyone turned to look. Even Paul stepped out of his office. A tall man in a dusted brown coat dismounted with an easy, practiced motion. His horse, sleek, powerful, beautiful, responded to his soft touch like a loyal companion. The man had a rugged, windburned face, soft brown eyes, and dark hair that curled slightly at the ends. His shoulders were broad, his posture relaxed but confident. His name was Luke Calderon. He was one of the richest ranchers in the state, owner of the Calderon Cattle Company, a massive property miles from civilization, known for its humane treatment of its workers, fair wages, and clean, safe living conditions. People respected Luke. Some feared him. But no one dared speak badly about him. "What brings you here, Calderon?" Paul asked stiffly. Luke ignored the tone. His gaze drifted past Paul, scanning the workers. Then, unexpectedly, his eyes paused on Mara. She was carrying a heavy sack of feed, her hair frizzy from sweat, her face plain and streaked with dirt. She kept her eyes low, as she always did. But Luke noticed something in her expression, a quiet resilience, a strength forged through hardship, a tired but gentle soul hidden behind years of unkind words. Paul noticed his attention and smirked. That one. She's not for sale. Not worth much anyway. Luke didn't smile. I wasn't asking about her. I came to pick up supplies. But his eyes returned to Mara again, softer this time. And Mara, who had trained herself not to look at anyone, glanced up just once. In that single moment, Luke saw the truth. She wasn't plain. She was exhausted, neglected, and starved of kindness. There was a difference. 5. Luke returned the next week. And the week after. And every time he came, he found excuses to be near the barns where Mara worked. He never touched her, never stepped too close, never made her uncomfortable. He simply helped with whatever she was doing. If she was lifting something heavy, he lifted part of the load. If she was tending to horses, he stayed near and passed her tools. He spoke gently. She barely spoke at all. What's your name? He asked her one day. Mara, she whispered. That's a good name. She stiffened, waiting for the usual insult, plain, dull, drab, but it never came. You do your work well, Luke added simply. She didn't know how to respond. No one had ever told her that. 6. One afternoon, when Paul Halifax wasn't nearby, Luke finally asked the question he'd been holding for weeks. Mara, do you want to leave this place? Her breath caught. Leave. Was such a thing even allowed? She didn't answer, but her eyes brimmed with unspoken longing. Luke's voice dropped to a gentle, protective tone. If you want a safe place to go, I'll take you. I'll give you honest work. Fair pay. A home where nobody will shout at you. Mara's hands trembled. Nobody's property, he added quietly. Nobody's servant. Just, Mara. Tears spilled down her cheeks before she could stop them. But when she opened her mouth to answer, Paul Halifax's voice erupted behind them. What the hell is going on here? Paul dragged Mara away and ordered Luke off the property. Luke didn't fight back, but he didn't leave, either, until he saw that Mara was safe inside the workers' building. Before riding away, he called out to her. I'll come back. That night, Paul locked Mara in a supply shed. You think a man like Calderon wants a plain little thing like you? He hissed. You're nobody. Mara curled up on the cold floor and cried silently. But something inside her had changed. Someone had looked at her and seen worth. Someone had looked at her and seen her. 7. The next morning turned the ranch upside down. Luke Calderon arrived, again, but this time with 2 lawyers, the county sheriff, and a folder of documents thicker than a brick. Paul Halifax paled. Mara Hadley was sold to you illegally, one lawyer said sharply. What you did was human trafficking. Paul sputtered. I paid her parents. You paid for a minor without legal adoption filings. That's a crime. And Miss Hadley was kept here without pay. Another crime. Mara stepped forward, trembling as she held Luke's offered hand for support. She wants to leave with Mr. Calderon, the sheriff said. And she is legally allowed to. Paul tried to argue, but it was over. The law stood with Mara. Luke stood with Mara. And for the first time in her life, the world seemed to stand with her too. 8. Life at the Calderon Ranch was nothing like the Halifax Ranch. Mara was given her own small cabin, clean, warm, quiet. She was given clothes that weren't torn, food that wasn't rationed, and work that was meaningful but fair. Luke checked on her often, but never hovered too close. He brought her books, helped her repair her cabin's porch, taught her how to ride a gentle mare named Willow. You're doing great, he would say. She had never heard those words before. The more time she spent around Luke, the more she saw who he really was, kind, patient, intelligent, and gentle with everyone. And the more he learned about Mara's past, the more he admired her strength. You survived them, he told her one evening while repairing a fence. That takes courage. More than they ever had. Mara felt her heart warm in ways she didn't understand at first. But Luke understood. He was falling in love with her. Slowly. Deeply. Quietly. And he hoped, prayed, that one day, she might feel the same. 9. Months passed. Mara grew stronger, physically and emotionally. She began laughing with the other workers, reading at night, helping in the stables with genuine joy. Her plain face, once dull and weary, now glowed with life. But she still didn't believe a man like Luke could want someone like her. One afternoon, while they were checking the cattle fences, Luke finally spoke the words he'd swallowed for too long. Mara, you know I care about you, right? She froze, her breath catching. You're not just someone I helped, Luke said softly. You're someone I respect. Someone I look for. Someone whose smile I wait to see every morning. Her heart pounded painfully. I know you think you're plain, he added, stepping closer, carefully, gently. But you're the most beautiful woman I've ever known. Her throat tightened with emotion. No one's ever said that to me, she whispered. They should have, Luke replied. Anyone who didn't see your worth was blind. A tear slipped down her cheek. Luke reached out, but stopped just short of touching her. He always let her choose. Slowly, she placed her hand in his. In that moment, nothing in the world felt plain. 10. Their relationship grew naturally. Soft glances, shared meals, long conversations by the barn, quiet rides through the fields at sunset. And one early morning by the creek, Luke finally asked the question he had held in his heart from the first moment he saw her. Mara, would you marry me? She gasped. Not because she was shocked he asked. But because, deep inside, she had been wishing for this moment too. She nodded, tears falling freely. Yes, Luke. Yes, I will. Luke wrapped his arms around her and held her with the tenderness of a man who knew exactly what she'd been through, and vowed she would never face such pain again. 11. Their wedding was small, simple, quiet. Just the workers who had become Mara's new family. She didn't wear an expensive gown. She didn't need one. When she walked down the aisle, her hair loose and her face free of makeup, Luke's breath caught. You're beautiful, he whispered as she reached him. And for the first time in her life, she believed it. Epilogue. Mara never returned to her old home. Her parents tried to contact her after learning she had married a wealthy rancher. She didn't respond. Because families are not defined by blood. They are defined by love. And Luke called her own, the man who saw her worth when no one else did, became the family she always deserved. They built a quiet, peaceful life together among horses, open skies, and endless fields. Mara was no longer plain. She was cherished, chosen, loved. And every night, when Luke held her close and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead, he whispered the same words. Yours was the only face I ever wanted, forever.